of Polish parents. And I had 3 brothers and myself. And in the year 1938, when it is that the Polish had to leave the country, they didn't give the passports out anymore for Polish people. But as long as my parents were born in Poland, I was considered a Polish too, even if I was born in Germany. And in October 28, 1938, the Nazis came and took us out of the house and brought us to the station, and they brought to Sponschien. Sponschien is a little town at the where Posen in Poland. That's the border of Poland and Germany, and they just pushed us over the border there. And naturally we had to leave everything there. At that time I was just with a younger brother of mine, 2 other brothers of mine. One was in Holland and one had immigrated to the United States already. And we were there a couple months in that border town. We were not allowed to leave. The Polish didn't let us in, and the Germans naturally didn't want us anymore. And but after a couple months, we were allowed to leave for Poland. Little by little, they always let some people out there. And this way, we went to Oberschlesien. That's the part of Katowice and Sosnowitz and that part. And there we stayed then with family for a little while, and naturally then the Germans went into Poland. It was in 1939, right? And then the Jewish committee, there was a Jewish committee, and they started to open some working camps, because they said not to have the Jews brought to the concentration camps right with the men. They suggested to open some working camps, and this way the men could work on the street. That was that time they started to build the Autobahn. It was in 39 and 40. And I, with a girlfriend of mine, we were called, because of the German background, to go into as office girls there to these camps. They were just camps for men, and the girls were just office girls, and the girls for the who did the wash, and some for the kitchen. And there I was a couple months, and I changed to another camp then, because they opened another camp and they felt I was already an expert in that type of work, and they sent me to another camp there. And there I was there until 41. Yeah, but it happened that I got a little vacation, a weekend. It seemed that I could go home and visit my parents. And that day, somehow the streetcars were not allowed for, only certain streetcars were allowed to travel, Jews were allowed to travel in that. And that day I came a little late to that streetcar. I wanted to go to another town, and I went into another streetcar, and they arrested me, and they put me in jail for a couple hours. But this was just a little anecdote there. But later on, when I came out of camp and worked for the SS in that town, in the office. They had it wasn't the SS really. That was the from the whole district, the offices there together. You know, that was all in Poland. And then one day I was called, and they said just because I did that certain part, I went into a wrong streetcar, I have to go to camp again. And they sent me to another working camp, to an office, because it happens that girl got sick and they needed somebody for that camp. And there I was another 6 months. And after that, it happened that I had met a medical student. That time there were not enough doctors in Poland, and for all the camps they didn't have enough people. They took the young medical students and made camp doctors out of them. And I had met one in one of the camps, and when we came out, and he came out too, we got married. After then the ghetto, then a ghetto was built. We lived outside of the town a little bit, but then a ghetto was built.
What was the name of it?
That was Sosnowitz. The ghetto, there was only a certain district where Jews were allowed to stay. And a family of ours, they had a larger apartment there, gave us one room. We were at that time, I had a younger brother who lived with us, and we had one room together. But when I got married, I moved into with my in-laws in another little town. After that was in beginning 43, or the end of 42, or the beginning 43, they opened up the ghettos. Not another ghetto, only a district where only Jews were allowed. This way was still the town, district of the town, but this was separate. And they sent all the Polish people who lived there, who had houses there, out, and all the Jews were put there. And I worked in an office there, a Bautrupp, that was from the men who were sent into town to work. And I was the cashier from this district there, but connected with the Sonderbeauftragten from the, I don't know what, if you can understand, there are so many things connected. I mean, it would be like here, the mayor of the city, you know, this was the, but under German, German. And then in August, there were already some selection. It started already in March, in about May 43. They needed another. In the meantime, my husband, who had worked in a Jewish hospital in that town, but they needed another camp doctor, and they just took him and sent him away. And I never saw him again. But I happen to know what happened to him, but I never saw him again. Then they made some selection already in the town. They put so and so many towns. They needed so and so many men, and they just took them. And we know they sent him to.
You knew what was happening?
We knew what was happening. They sent him to Auschwitz, but really we didn't know. We knew, or maybe we didn't want to know.
Right.
Okay.
But you had like a suspicion.
We had a suspicion what happens to them, but they said they're working there. You know, we didn't really know about the gas chambers that time yet. And a couple times from this selection I came out because I had a special identification. I worked for the Sonderbeauftragten, and this way made me a little more immune there. In August 1st, 43, there was another, they started to liquidate all the, it was a couple days, 2 weeks before about it, they took all the Jewish leaders from the ghettos. They just disappeared overnight. We didn't know, maybe we thought maybe they ran away, maybe they had some influence with the SS and they gave them money and they smuggled them out of the country or what. We really didn't know what happened. And then on August 1st, they liquidated all the ghettos. They put all the men and women outside and we were put into wagons and sent to Auschwitz. And there's the Auschwitz, there was a selection, one side the men, one side the women.
When you came in Auschwitz, there was a selection, right?
There was a selection right away in Auschwitz. At that time I lived with my in-laws and my father-in-law and mother-in-law and my sister-in-law. And when we came there, they separated us right away. They took me to a special site there, and my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law and my father-in-law to another section. But I still didn't know, we didn't realize that was the one who went to the gas chambers and we were going to camp. And we were marched, they took naturally everything away from us, or bags, what we were just what we had on our body. And then we walked into, that was from Auschwitz, that was Auschwitz. So we went into Birkenau. That was the camp that time, the women, for the women they came. And the first thing we had to take our clothes off and we were shaved. And after that we got a dress and a cotton undershirt there, and we were sent, we had to go through camp, through that all the whole camp, and we were put in one big barn. I mean, one of these, you must have seen it's like a tremendous building, you know. And in that building we were about 1,000 in one building. Naturally, there was always days it was snowing. They said we are before you go to work, they wanted to make sure that everything is all right. We are not allowed outside of that block there. They call it blocks and a number there. Only if there was one pail, you know, we had to empty into that pail, and then girls were allowed to bring that out. And then after a couple of days, in the morning, they gave black coffee in the morning, if you had a chance to get it, you know. I mean, in a situation like this, some people, they just, you know, their behavior, you know, they get wild, and instead of waiting until your line is there, everything was turned over and nobody got anything there, you know. And then we were out to go to the sogenannte, you don't understand German, I have to put some Germans in there, some German words in there. They called it Wiese. Wiese is a part of a lawn, right? But there was no lawn, it was just a piece. And there we were all for a couple hours.
What was the roll call?
No, that was just, we should get some fresh air, right? So, right. Oh, naturally every day there was. And then in between a couple times there were selections. We had to undress completely and stay outside, and the doctor went through and picked these. And then we knew already who was picked, that they came in a certain block there, and the next day or the next morning or when they were picked up to the gas chamber. That we know. already there. Naturally, it was easier for people who understood German to understand when if German started to holler something, go left or go right, you went if you understood it. But there were some Greek, a lot of Greek people, or some Italians or some French, they didn't understand German, and if they sent right, they went left or straight or so. Naturally, they were hit and punished otherwise. But these selections happened every day. There was somebody else disappearing. And people got sick naturally with that food, or from not eating, or from that food. You know, they had diarrhea. They couldn't take it, and they felt like flies around us. But there is a certain way of thinking who wasn't strong. You started to think you have to protect yourself in certain way, and you started to think, I don't want to think what happens tomorrow. You started to live for the day. That was your own protection. For your own protection, you had to think that way. Naturally, not everybody could do it, and some went to the electric wires there, or some just fell, some let themselves go too, you know. One day when I was, I always looked out. There was one thing, I wanted fresh air and I wanted water. And when they started to bring out the pails, what wasn't very nice, naturally, but I said I'd rather go out and help bring these pails out and get some, maybe one of these plugs is open where the water was running, you know. I get a little water, I can wash myself a little bit. And because there was no facility in that plug at all. And I heard somebody saying, oh, you need some girls for, there is a special assessment, he needs an office girl, a girl who is in typing and in shorthand, and otherwise in bookkeeping she knows. And I just happened to hear that, and I said, I can do that. And they took my number what I had on my arm. And nothing, I didn't hear anything anymore about that. And there was one day, there was one girl came late to the appel, they called it, it was a rota. They came late and they said, now, just because of that, I want you to knee, you have to knee for 6 hours. So, and that day I was called, my number was called, and I was told I was selected to go to the Auschwitz offices there, and I'm gonna have like some kind of interview there. So these days, in the meantime, naturally they said some days, oh, you go to the, you help a day there, or you help a day somehow. They always found some kind of work, but most of it there was really nothing to be done. And that day they called me a certain time, and they gave me a scarf around my head because I was bald, you know, and gave me a pair of shoes. But
you had no shoes?
We didn't get any shoes, no. They gave me one shoes, but the shoes were like the working shoes, with wooden. I hardly could, it was a long walk, I hardly could walk, my feet started to hurt, and I took them off. I walked and I held them, I walked without them. And when I came to that certain office there, we were called to about 20 girls who were interviewed that day. And somehow I was the one who was picked to come to work there. And actually to work there, that was like living in the slums and going to Park Avenue. But there is, you can't really compare that, but there is something like, and then I was called, but to day to go to that office. And I was brought to they call it Stabsgebäude. That was like a villa, that was like a paradise. The girls, they were all girls. They worked in all the different kind of offices, and there was the room for the ironing, for where the girls worked ironing for the SS, and where they did the wash for the SS too. And after all these weeks, there was a shower, you know, naturally, and there was so, and after, because I was physically all right, usually there was a doctor in that building for the Häftlinge, and she found me physically all right. I started to go to the office after 2 days, like that. And this was naturally like living in paradise for us, because not that the food was so much different, but the physical conditions were so much.
You lived there, you didn't go back to
I didn't go back to
No,
the
that's what
I
you
lived, this was just one building that time where all the, we said, that was the society that time. That was something special to live there. Naturally, you had only, you didn't get a toothbrush or you didn't get soap, but this was something, let's say you swiped if you had a chance. You were allowed to that as long nobody caught you. I mean, everybody had a toothbrush then, and everybody, the girls started, oh, here's a toothbrush, and some gave soap, and you know, some gave stockings, you know, you could have those things.
Really
nobody said if you wore it, but nobody gave it to you. Somehow there were these, all the things from the people who came to Auschwitz. There came so many people. They brought all their dowries along from, they didn't know where they, from France, from Holland, where they were going. They brought all their things along, and naturally they sorted that all. And there were some men and some women working there, and some, they smuggled it out and they sold it for a portion of bread or a portion of sausage. You got a piece. You didn't eat it that time, you rather wanted something else then, you know. And naturally it was more organized. We had our coffee, we got our portion of bread, a small portion of bread in the evening, in a piece of bologna or what it was there. And at noontime you walked in, you got a soup. That was a soup, there was everything in there, you know. I mean, you found everything. They just made a soup. But it was, if you didn't work hard, you could survive on it. Nature for the men, it was so much harder because they had to work hard, the men. They had to go outside and work, you know. For them it was harder. And then I went to, there I worked, then I went to another department there for a while, and a short time later I was picked to work in the, they call it Blockführerstube. That is that building where on the men's department, on the men's camp, where the camp of the men, there was one building there where they had to march through there, you know. I was the only girl at that building for some time. I worked for that man, and later on, that man, there was a trial in Frankfurt, Germany, and I was called to that trial. They found him. He worked as a worker in a little town, but they found him because he was the one who made all the selections when the transports came.
After the war? When was this
I
trial?
went after the war
After the
to
war.
that. So
Oh,
yeah,
I see.
that was just about 8-9 years ago, something like that. But this man,
That's
I
the
worked
man that
for-
you worked for.
he did all the selections when all the transports came in, you know, and he later on after the war he was found. They looked for him and he was found, and he got life. I don't know if he's still in. He might have come out in the meantime, but I saw him. And it was I was there at the in Auschwitz. Or later on, they built some buildings there. Besides that building, they made a camp for women too. They brought from this Auschwitz itself was only a camp for men.
What was Birkenau?
Birkenau was a camp men and women.
Oh, men and women.
Men and women. There was a man, but Auschwitz was only a time there was only men, a camp for men.
Yeah.
But later on, they built a camp for women there too. And then we moved out of that certain building, and they made some barracks there. And one barracks for the inmates like us, and one barrack for the SS. And they're in between always, because when the planes started to come and bomb, this way they felt they wouldn't bomb it because the inmates were there, but somehow they hit them anyhow, you know? And that was till January 45. In January 45, Auschwitz was evacuated. When the Russians came from one side and the Americans from the other side. And we walked then...
the Germans evacuated.
Germans evacuated.
Yeah,
That's right. But they said that time the people who worked at the political department where I worked, we never would get out because we knew too much, right? But somehow they would, whoever tries to hide, they're gonna explode the whole camp. They said it's undermined, they're gonna explode it. But somehow they didn't have the time or what it was. And we were evacuated in January 1945. And we walked and we went to Ravensbrück that time.
That's also a women's camp.
That was a women's camp. There were some men there too, but it was mostly a women's camp, yes. Is there anything else? Because you said you wanted to ask from camps, you wanted to...
No, till like you were just free
Oh.
of Germans.
And we stayed there at that camp a couple months too. That was, wait a minute, that was 45, not a couple months. It can be only 2 months, something like that. And then we were, from there we went to another camp. Somehow I started to think of it last night, when I can't remember at the moment what the name of it. And from that camp we were brought into a train. We went down to Leipzig and to Dresden, to Germany, farther south.
Oh, you went back into Germany?
Back into Germany because the Russians came from that side. And we went into to munitions factory there. And we worked there for a while. Then we were evacuated again. And this way we walked a couple of weeks. We walked just back and forth because then one of the days we were in a small town. They just left us there. That was already in April 45. End of April 45. And then the Russians came in there. So, and after a while, I had a friend who just started to go back one train and walk, and that we wanted to go back to Poland, to that city where we thought maybe one of the family is still alive. I know that my parents, my mother came on I came August 1st and they came in August 3rd. My mother went in right away to the guess. My father and my brother went into camp for a while, but my brother got sick then, and after he was taken away, my father shortly after that was taken away too. That I know. But I wanted to go back. I thought I didn't know about my husband that time, and I went back to the town. There was some other family. I had cousins there, and and aunts and uncles, but there was nobody.
Nobody was
I didn't find. And then after it was end of 45, because they didn't allow anybody to go into Germany. Whereas I said I might as well go back to my hometown and see I get in contact with my brothers or what's there. But somehow they didn't let us in either. Even the American control there didn't let us in. And somehow, but through some help, we were smuggled through. We smuggled through to Czechoslovakia, to Prague first. And from there we took another train and went overnight through the woods, and we came into Munich then. And in Munich I stayed. We met somebody who stayed there a couple of days overnight too, and then I took a job at the Central Committee. That was the Joint Distribution Center in Munich. There was a center there, and I worked for them.
Where was that?
That was in 45.
And what was it? What did you do there? What was
I worked in an office there because they had distribution for the whole section of Bayern, they called it there, and there were some camps too. You know, there were some different camps for the immigrants who came out, who stayed in camps then.
Right.
But I felt I rather wanted to live privately and work, or not to stay in another camp again. But in camps they did, you know, you had your food there and you had your living quarters there. But I worked then for the Joint Distribution Center. That was, the money came in, they sent packages.
Oh, I see.
Right.
That's what I want to know.
They sent packages, and they were all they were providing for the other camps and for anybody who came out of camps, came into this section of the offices, and they helped.
Right, that's
Right,
what I
so.
want to know.
Naturally, later on, they helped with getting papers to go to the United States.
So how long were you there?
I was there, I came here in January 47. I came to the States. But in the meantime, a brother of mine had sent a affidavit. And so I stayed, I worked for that, worked that long there until...
All right. The name of the ghetto was Susnowitz. Now, do you know the dates of when you were there?
That was, wait a minute. Okay, 38, 40. The ghetto was about 41, beginning at 42. In 42 it changed over to that special section then there.
So you were there like for 41.
41 about, yes.
Okay.
Because I was gone too in the meantime. I went to the camps.
Right,
in the
you were
meantime.
working in those
In
camps.
camps, right.
Right, that's right. Okay, now this was not, you came from Germany,
Yes.
right? Okay, and where were you between September 1st, 1939 and the establishment of the first ghetto you were in? You were working.
September 39.
Till you came to this ghetto. Where were you?
September 39 I was in a camp. All right.
You were in the camp?
I was in one camp, yes. Because I was in a camp already in 39. The Germans came in 39. End of 39 I went to the first camp. When the first camps were...
That's when you were working in these camps?
Yes, right.
Okay. In this ghetto, what anti-Jewish actions were taken before the ghetto was established? Like pogroms or something? Were there anything like that?
Oh, people were, there were some hangings there.
Yeah.
People who were caught. They went into houses, they took things like we lived on the first floor that time, and they came in and they took the curtains down, the SS, and took the...
This was Germans?
That's were Germans.
Or were the other people?
Oh,
like
the Polish people did not like the Jews either.
Right.
Right, so
yeah.
if they could do something to the Jews, they were naturally nice among them too, like you meet every place else, right? But in general, it's like here there is a certain jealousy. The Jews, but the Polish Jews were there was no middle there. They were very poor or they were very
rich.
Right. There was not like here, you find, the middle class. They were very poor. They lived in one room there, 6 people too, like you hear from certain sections too, right? But that was there too. But there were some people caught, there were some hangings, so we had to watch that too. And had some hangings were there in Auschwitz too, because they took some. There was one day, I forgot to tell you that. Should I talk about it now?
When we get to Auschwitz.
Later on.
Okay. Okay. Did any of your family live in the same ghetto with you?
Yes, my parents.
Your parents and
my
your
brother. Right.
Okay. Did you do any work in the ghetto?
In the ghetto, I worked in an office.
You worked in the
office? Yes.
Okay.
In the office for the Jewish committee, I worked there. There were no other offices, so just the Jewish committee.
See, some questions I can skip because
I was talking about
because it's not from your hometown, things like that. Was it allowed to leave the ghetto at first? Were you allowed to leave?
Certain hours.
Oh, you were allowed to leave at certain hours.
And that's in Sosnovitz there. We could.
Right, in Sosnovitz.
Yeah, that was not really considered a ghetto. They only certain parts of the city the Jews had to get out.
Right, and go to a different part.
Go to a different part.
Oh,
there.
so
they were not allowed to go to that certain part. They were not allowed to go there. But the other Shodula, the other ghetto, naturally nobody was allowed out there.
Okay, so you were allowed to leave in Sosnovitz. You were allowed to leave.
Yes, right. Okay. We could go to another town there, But
there were certain hours.
But you had to have. Later on, we had our yes.
The star.
Yes, the star.
Okay. Do you know the size of the ghetto? Like how big it was? No.
With a couple. 20,000, something like that. It was not a big town. It wasn't small, but there were a lot of Jews there.
Okay, was there a wall? There was no wall.
No
wooden
wall.
fence. It wasn't closed in.
No, it was not.
It was
closed
not closed in.
No.
Okay. Now
the ghetto itself, the other wasn't closed in, but there was a certain section, and there were buildings around from the SS, and they were watching.
Now were there like guards at gates?
No, there was no gate.
No guards to watch.
And that in the ghetto in Sosnovitz there was not
no
in
guards.
the town. No.
Okay. Okay. Did you have any knowledge of what went on outside of Nazi territory? Did you know then what was going on? Did you know?
We heard.
You heard. Were there radios?
Yes, there were radios, but we were afraid. You had a radio. You heard some things, and you hoped every day that something will happen. It will end.
And what about underground newspapers? Were you allowed to receive letters?
We were allowed to receive letters. Yes, that we were. Yes.
Okay. And when did you know about the extermination, the gas chambers? Did you know that?
We heard about it before when we were in the ghettos, because people disappeared. There were some selections before already, like I said, they were taken away.
So you had a suspicion?
We had a suspicion.
Right. Okay, did you have any personal or family plans to escape?
You thought about it, but then you said where to escape to. You know, there is, first of all, as a Jew, if you looked as a Jew, or there were some who escaped because they looked Gentile, and they got themselves some papers, right, different papers, and they worked in Germany as Germans there. Some were caught and some were not caught. But if you looked a little Jewish, and naturally you didn't want to leave your family either. So, and I tell you, there comes a time where you were afraid too. And you couldn't go into Poland because we couldn't go in. Poland was all the same thing.
It was Germany.
Was all German there, right? And to go back to Germany, you needed a passport too. You needed an identification. And to go through, we didn't. Some had the nerve, and most of them didn't.
Right. Okay. What did you eat in the ghetto? Did you have a ration? It was distributed.
In the ghetto, we got some rationing coupons. Yes, yeah. But it wasn't.
What kind of food was it?
That was too little to live on that. Naturally, you tried to sell, and you bought. There was always a black market there, and the big black market. That was the only way to live there, a black market. Right.
Okay, yeah, this is the size of the living space throughout the time. How many people were there in an apartment or a room?
We personally had, in that section, we had one room and a kitchen. We made a living quarter,
and how many people were there?
We were 3 there, because my brother that time had already left for a job in another town, and he just came to visit, and then he slept on the couch.
And did you have cooking and sanitary arrangements?
Yes, there was a kitchen that time, in the beginning, yes.
And you were able to get coal or wood for like heating?
It wasn't, there was no central heating, right?
Yeah.
In the kitchen you had the stove there, and there was
you were able to get
with coal. Yes,
you
bought it. You bought that on yeah.
Now, what pre-war political parties were there? What was their relative strength, and who were the Jewish leaders in the town before 19? Well, you wouldn't know that. You know, the leaders
Poland?
of the town, of this town. Do you know before the ghetto? You wouldn't know
before
that.
I only knew then later on the people who were the leaders. Then they were picked. They picked some men when the Germans came in, and they said, who understand German and who is can you do this or can you do that? And then they picked the person who was capable to do it. But I don't want to mention a name there, because these people, like I told you before, they were sent out, they disappeared overnight in the ghettos. And it happened when I worked in Auschwitz in the office. I found out there was some papers that these people were brought to Auschwitz that time, and they were shot.
And do you know how was the first Judenrat appointed?
That was the first Judenrat.
Do you know how they were appointed? Were they like just taken off the streets, or was
no? They said the people.
They asked who was capable of.
Capable. Yeah. They brought the people in who had a little name in the town there. You know,
someone important.
Somebody important, and they brought them in, and they choose then some.
Okay. Do you know? It says, try to describe the Judenrat's development as far as leadership and organization are concerned throughout the time. Do you know?
Look, he was, it happens that I personally was a little related to that person, the Judenrat, who had he was hated. He was hated.
In the town by the Jews?
He was hated, and he was liked. Any leader, I don't want to be, he didn't do anything right, but in his way, he tried to save people because he said, they said, I want 2,000 Jews tomorrow, the SS said. He said, how about I give you 500. He tried to, somebody had to be on top there, right? Or he said there was he started with these working camps too. He said this way, if they work for them, maybe some gonna be alive. But most of these camps, a lot of them lived.
Trying to be useful.
Tried to be useful to them, and it helped. It helped and not helped. But naturally, nobody. If some from one family, 2 people were taken, naturally, it's his fault. But he couldn't help it either. I mean, he couldn't, but he could just resign then, right? That would have been the best. So,
but I don't. Somebody else.
Somebody else. There would have been not nobody there. I mean, but as a person, he definitely was capable of it. But naturally, I was sent from the family. I was sent one of the first to one of these working camps. The condition in that camp. When it started, there were only men. There was no water really. There was no washing there until they built a shower room and built a thing. And we didn't have a bed. We had a straw on the floor in the beginning, naturally, because it was new until they started to build those things. But because he felt, I didn't like it either, but he felt, oh, I'm sending even my family there. Why shouldn't the other go? Something like that, you know. But naturally not involved like that. But I try to be fair in this respect because, like you said, if it wouldn't be him, it would have been somebody else.
Okay, and the last question about the ordnance things, the Jewish police.
The Jewish police.
Yeah. How many policemen were there? Do you know?
There were a couple, the policemen there. So they were liked and hated too, right? You know, the policemen, they tried to. And for some of their family, they tried to get them out.
Right.
I mean,
because I read in some cases with they became like the Nazis, where they became very brutal.
They became brutal too.
Yeah.
But they became when that day, on the 2nd day of August, when their transport came to Auschwitz, the police intervened there, and they started firing. What they did, the Germans, they put everything into it. Everyone. Not one person came out of that transport then. They killed everybody because of naturally some Germans were killed that day too. But they tried to fight.
Yeah.
I mean, but there were too many. There were such a small against so many. I mean, there was really, but they tried to do some. They felt it was like the Warsaw ghetto. They wanted to do something, right? So, to fight.
Okay. Were the Jewish police subject to the Judenrat, or did they rule it? Who were they under?
No, they were subject to the.
They were subject to the
Judenrat. Oh yes, that was it. Oh, definitely.
And were they directly under German supervision? Or were
no.
The Germans didn't.
They were under the.
The Germans told the Judenrat, and the Judenrat told
right.
them.
Told them. That's right.
Okay. And I don't know what this is. Under Polish Blue Police supervision. Do you know what that is?
Polish Blue Police?
Yeah. Do you know what that is? I don't know. Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, so that was Sosnovitz. Now you were down in Schroedelo.
Schroedelo, yes. That was that ghetto. There were little.
That was only town.
That was like a little suburban.
Yeah.
It's from Sosnovitz.
Oh,
that was suburban. There was a little Schroedelo and the other Schroedelo. One section where one part lived and the other part lived.
Okay, and do you know when you were there?
I was there in 43.
43.
Yes.
for the, and then you went to Auschwitz from
And
there.
then from there I went to Auschwitz, yes.
Okay, now, did you have any family in this ghetto?
In that ghetto, I lived with my in-laws.
You lived with your in-laws?
With my in-laws.
And your parents went on to?
My parents lived in another ghetto, but where I worked, it was just a 10-minute walk.
Oh, I see.
mean, they were all connected. It was one part of it. It was all connected. We could walk there from one to another.
And what work did you do in this ghetto?
In that ghetto, I worked for the Germans. Connected with the Germans had an office in that ghetto for the working men. The men went out to town, to Sosnowitz, to the city, and did the streets or whatever had to be done. We had to give them so and so many to work, men to work every day, you know. And I was a cashier. I made the what they got paid for it, what was connected with that. Bautrup they called it, you know.
Okay, now, again, if you were a refugee from another place, so what was the local inhabitants' attitude towards you? You know, like the Polish, again, that was like the same
I had
thing.
nothing to do with the Polish then. These
You
were all
were
Jews.
no contact here
The
with them.
Jews. They were all Jews. I had no contact
Right.
with the Polish then.
Okay. Again, was it allowed to leave the ghetto?
The
at
ghetto,
first?
no.
No, now you were not allowed to
No,
leave at all.
no. There were some girls who worked in the city there. They had to a certain time, and they were brought to the city by the SS.
Right. But like this.
Otherwise, nobody was allowed to leave.
Okay. And again, do you know like the size of the ghetto? How big it was? No, you don't remember. Not too many.
No, look, but the people, there were little houses in that house where, look, the Polish farmers there, or the people lived there, were not that rich. They had a little house, like a little summer house there, out there. There were 2 rooms, right? In these 2 rooms there lived 2 families. Each family had 1 room, right? They had to go through to another room there.
Okay,
And some even 2 or 3 families in 1 room. We were lucky we had just 1 room. My parents had 1 room for themselves.
And was it enclosed? Was there a wall or a fence around this ghetto?
There was no fence, but it was controlled.
There were guards.
There were guards, not all around. There was no fence, but it was controlled, and really nobody dared, as far as I know, dared to get out there because
and
it
what
was watched.
If there were guards, what were they? Were they Jewish or German or Polish?
No, they were German guards.
German guards. And was it like a pass system where you, but you weren't allowed to leave at all, so.
We were not allowed to leave at all.
Okay. Again, did you have any knowledge of what was going on outside?
You heard things,
Again, you just
what
heard
was
things.
was going on, but really, no, you heard
didn't
about
know
the
what the-
underground, you know,
So
they
you didn't know
smuggled people out, some, you know,
Right.
either some papers out, or some things out, or some kids even out, you know,
Right.
some kids were smuggled out, some small children. And the Polish did that too, for money, naturally. Right.
But you didn't know to the extent of gas chambers,
Not
what
really.
they were doing?
Not really, no,
Okay.
not to that extent.
Okay. And in this ghetto, what did you eat? Did you have, again, did you have rations?
You had rations. We had
Coupons.
rations there.
Was
Coupons.
it the same like in Sosnowitz?
Same
kind of
coupons.
food?
You got for soap there, and you got rations for potatoes, so that you got. And then where you lived, you had to go and get your water because there was a pump. You know, there was no water in the building.
Okay. And the size of the living space, again, how many people? You had 1 room?
We had 1 room.
And
I
how
mean,
many
there were 3 when I
3.
got married. We were 4 in that 1 room.
And you had cooking and sanitary
There was
arrangements. You were able
There was outside.
outside.
Outside, yeah. There was just and water, like you said, you had to
You had
bring
to
pails
get-
in.
yeah.
Yes, for water.
Okay, and was there Judenrat in this town also?
Yes,
There was
yes.
Judenrat.
It was a Judenrat.
And do you know who were the people in it? Also do you know who the people were in it?
There were the same people who were
Oh, from Sosnovitz?
from Sosnovitz. They had their
They were.
they had their place in the ghetto then too.
Oh, I see. Okay, and there was Jewish police in this ghetto also.
They were Jews, yeah.
Also, and do you know how many there were?
I really can't say.
Yeah.
I can't
And
say.
they were
If there were 100 in a whole town, I really can't
Yeah.
say how many there were.
Okay, and they were subject to the Judenrat. They were
Yes,
under the Judenrat's
under
rule.
the Judenrat.
Okay. All right, that's about gas. Okay, so you in the camp, you were in first in Birkenau and then in Ravenscroft
No,
for a while.
Birkenau and then Auschwitz.
Then Auschwitz, right?
Birkenau and then Auschwitz.
Okay, so first in
And then
Birkenau.
Ravensbrück.
Oh, Ravensbrück.
Ravens, nicht B. R-A-V-E-N-S-B-R-U-C-K.
Yeah.
Brück. Ravensbrück.
All right. Now, when did you arrive to Auschwitz, to Birkenau?
In August 1st, 1943.
And how did you get there? What method of transportation had?
Oh, we walked. We had to walk quite a few for about a day, a day and a half. From Auschwitz until we got the wagons, the train.
How did you get to Auschwitz?
To Auschwitz, we got in wagons. We got in trains.
In trains.
Yeah, in
Boxcars.
boxcars.
Yeah.
Right.
And from Auschwitz, you walked to
We
Birkenau.
had to walk
It's far.
a day and a night. We stayed a night outside. Day and a half about. We had to walk until we got to boxcars. There were no boxcars there. We had to walk. And when we were put in the boxcars, we were brought to Ravensbrück. Right to Ravensbrück there.
Okay, and did you arrive alone or with members of your family?
No, my family. I wasn't to Ravensbrück, nobody. From Auschwitz, there was no family anymore.
No more. You were
No,
there alone.
I was alone.
Okay, and do you know what happened to them? They were.
My parents was, yes, I know. My mother went right away to that in August the 3rd when they came.
Right away.
My brother and father, they went in September. September, my brother, my father, in October 43.
Okay, was there a selection on arrival? There was right
Yes,
away.
right
There was-
away selection.
And did you know what it meant?
Not really.
Yeah.
That time, because they thought maybe they take some younger working to that camp, some little older there, and some.
Yeah. So you really didn't know, like
No.
left and what right means.
We were afraid to be on a certain part because I had gone over to. I was separated from my in-laws when we arrived, and I saw them standing on the other side, and I just went through, and I went to my mother-in-law that time, and my sister-in-law, and she was a young kid of 16, very small, and my mother-in-law, who was a very good-looking woman, but that day she looked like 80. She was a young woman still.
Yeah.
She was in the beginning 40s even that time. And I stood with them, and I saw the other part already, the young girls on that one part. The men we didn't see anymore,
No,
but they were already gone. The young guard in March, started to march already, and then came one SS over, and he went through the line where we all stood. He said like this, he didn't say a word, and I went over, he said, you go over there. And he sent me to how about my
your
cousin? I didn't
you
say
didn't say
meine Cousine, in German. How about that? I didn't say my mother-in-law. He looked, no, you go over, and he pushed me to the other side. That was the last I saw
And
them. That
they
was my
went to
luck, just
the-
that he came just over the Odyssey. And then we marched to Birkenau.
Okay. Describe the location and size of the camp, its guard system.
Oh, the camp, the size. How many were there? You know, it was in one of these. We were just 1,000 in one.
In one.
Yeah, I mean there were thousands and thousands.
Yeah.
There.
And the guard system.
The guard system. There was the electric wire all around the women's camp there. And we saw on the other side. We saw far away. We saw the men there too. There was the men's camp. And some men came in when they brought some food in. They came with the wagons there, you know. But otherwise, in the evening, no, you couldn't go out.
Yeah.
You were not allowed. It was still a quarantine. That was, now I remember, it was supposed to be quarantine before. Yes, when we came in, there's a quarantine. Yeah.
Okay, and can you name any of the commanders or the officers that you can remember, and like just tell something about them?
In Birkenau?
Yeah.
No, I don't remember any name of those.
No,
I had really no contact with those. I remember that doctor, they're still looking for, I don't even remember the name now. The doctor, he's supposed to be in South America.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember to have seen him because
Yeah,
he had a woman doctor with him, a Jewish woman doctor with him, who worked with him. I mean, you know.
So you don't remember any names?
No, I don't remember any names from that. No. I remember names from where I worked in the office. These names I remember a few there, but in Auschwitz then later on.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the other names.
Okay. Do you know how many Germans guarded the camp? Do you know? Or how many non-Germans?
They were Germans.
German guards.
German guards. And you know, and there were some, there was a certain district, that type of Poland, and they said because it's like the corridor, the Germans, it's like in France, but it was partly sometimes German and sometimes it was Poland. There was a certain part already, and the people who lived and were born there, they said, you want to be a German, you know, then you can be a German, you know, these people.
Yeah.
There's a certain name, I forgot. I don't remember the name at the moment. And like Strasbourg, that part, you know, Strasbourg in France,
Yes.
they could, it was German and it was
Right.
French, you know, that's why. And this is why too, but they offered the Germans and the Polish inmates already, you can get a German now if you want to, if you come from that part of the section there. And they were guards too,
Oh, I see.
these.
Okay. Were they SS or did they belong to other units?
They
Were
were mostly
German?
the Wehrmacht. That was
Wehrmacht.
mostly in there were mostly SS.
SS.
Mostly SS.
Do you remember incidents that could be used to accuse individual Nazis as war criminals?
Yeah, that was already all. That's what I
You
did the time
went
when
to-
I went to. I was called
to the trial.
to the trial to that Erbe, and because he did all this, he did the selections when the
selections.
transport came.
What was the composition of the inmates? Do you know the ages? They were mostly women. Do you know like the ages?
No, it was young.
They
They
were
were-
mainly young.
Yeah, yes, in the teens and
Yeah.
20s, you know.
I see.
There were some a little
Well,
there
there's always
who, yes. But
And were they mainly Jews? Were there non-Jews also there?
well, there were non-Jews too.
Yeah.
Politically, yes.
Political
There were
prisoners.
there were put some in too who were some criminals too, right, and prostitutes too.
And did they come from like any special towns or areas? Or was
The
that from all-
Gentile, you mean?
Well, anyone, well, the Jews.
They had the gypsies there too.
They had
you know.
gypsies also.
Yeah, yeah.
And the Jews, did they come
The
like
Jews came from all. They came from all from Europe.
from, not just like from Poland, they came from all
No,
over.
they came from whole Europe. They were
They came
there.
from all over.
There was Holland. There was Belgium. There was France. Germany, Luxembourg there, that section, and then there was Hungarian, naturally, the Greek.
Yeah, so they were from all over.
Yes, Yugoslavia too.
All over.
Yes, in Czechs, there were that was all there. And there were Russians there too, Russian Gentiles too. I mean, some people when they put them in when they were caught when the Germans were.
And they were like, were they French? You know,
What do you mean
French Jews
French Jews.
also.
Yes, there were French Jews. Yes.
Okay. And what kind of work did you do?
Yeah,
You worked
I
in
was
the,
just in an office. I was
in
very
office.
lucky
You
all
were
the
very
time. I worked in an office.
Okay, and
There was a munition factories.
Right.
Girls worked there.
but
you
you
know.
didn't work in
No,
there. You worked in
I
the
only
office.
worked in.
And you know, what kind of work? With like typing or
Typing,
stenography? That's what you did.
Some letters, yes, and typing. You know, I had to make lists when I had to make the list people who were brought into camp.
Oh, that's
You know, and they got a number.
That's what you did.
I had the list too, the whole original list too. I had to put them away, but and everybody who came into camp had a card, had a number. Naturally, you got tattooed that
Right.
time. Mine was taken out there. I had it taken out that time when I came, and you got a card there, and you had your own folder. Every person who was in the camp has their own folder there.
So that's what you did, like secretarial work.
Exactly.
Okay. And describe the capos. You know, were they good capos? You know what you were.
Oh, they were very. You were afraid of them, naturally. You know,
They weren't Jewish. They weren't Jews.
the capos from the
capos.
camp.
Yeah.
There were some Jews too.
There were some Jews,
Oh,
but
yes.
the
There were
ones
some
that you
Jews.
knew,
Huh?
the ones that you were in contact with.
She was terrible. It was just, you know, if some people get to be a certain things, they want to overdo it. Like I heard later, I mean, her life, they said, if she spies on us, you know, she gonna live. Her life was promised, you know.
Right.
This one, the political thing,
Well,
because
she wasn't Jewish, was she?
she was
She was a
yeah,
Jew?
Yeah. She was Slovak.
Do you know what happened to her?
She's supposed to be in Slovakia, I heard. Yes, she was in jail too, right after when she was put into jail, because some girls say when she came through Katowice that time and the Russians were there and they took her off the train, they put her into jail because some girls knew she would come and they took her and but then she was freed and she's supposed to be in Slovakia. But she was one of these people. Her life was promised. Maybe somebody else would have done it too. I don't know. Not everybody could do a thing like this. But she was hated like everything.
And she was like over your block.
Yes. Over the political. They were different. In our block, they were different. Some worked in the different departments of that sections there, you know. But she was just for the political.
And describe the food.
We all got the same food.
Yeah, when
But,
did you get? When did you get food?
We got in the evening a piece of bread and a piece of wurst, some bologna there, And then naturally you started to part it that you had something for breakfast then. Right?
What?
From that bread, what you
Oh,
got,
you-
in only one portion you got. And then
So
you
you
left,
saved it.
you saved, sometimes you saved
And in
it.
the morning?
In the morning you got coffee.
And nothing till supper?
Lunchtime,
till
no, lunch, you
You
had
got
to
the
walk in, you got the
Got the
soup.
soup.
Yes, right.
And describe the daily routine. Like, what did you do since the
Oh, we
first
had to get up in the morning with, I think, 5:30 or 6 o'clock.
Mhm.
And then we went down, there was downstairs a washroom. And we washed and we got dressed and we had to make our bed there. And then we were taken to work. In and out of, there was a guard, and we were taken in and out of camp. Because we worked out of the women's camp where the offices were, you know. We were brought there.
And how long did you work there?
We came into lunch, in Europe you eat a warm lunch.
Right, you eat
Right.
a big meal.
At big meal.
Right.
At 1 o'clock, it was 1 o'clock about. And then we were brought back, we worked till 6.
And then you were brought
And
back.
then we were brought back, right.
Okay. And at night you ate.
We had what we got our
Was there
bread.
like you said, an appel? Was there in the
An
morning?
appel in the morning was an appel.
Also,
right.
and at night
yeah.
also.
At night, right. I forgot.
And
that.
how long did this take?
The appel? Not too long.
No.
Just 10. It depends if there was something wrong that
Wrong.
day, or that they were in a bad mood. They let you stay some hours too.
But
Sometimes.
usually it was like.
It was
Not
short
too
because we had to move out. We had to be a certain time to work there.
Okay. And were people killed? You said there were hangings.
Oh, there was one was when the gas chambers were attacked. Some girls had smuggled munition out of the factory there, and some men attacked the gas chamber. That's because there were a special group of people, of inmates who had to take the clothing from those people who came in, or they had to go in had to push the people into the gas chambers, and or they had to take later on they had to take their gold teeth out and everything there. And there was that one special day, that's what they did, and a few girls were caught. And we were brought into camp that day, and we had to watch the hanging of these girls that day. I think there were 5 or 6 girls.
And who killed them? Was it the Germans or the guards or non-Germans?
These girls
Yeah.
who were hanged,
Yeah.
the Germans,
The
and
Germans.
some inmates had to put them up there and help. Naturally, they were forced to help them. I mean.
Yeah, you said there were this question here, were there actions in the camp? Like you said, they attacked the gas chambers. Were there anything else?
That was, yeah.
Towards the end, was that?
That was more towards the end already.
Was
yes.
there anything else like that?
Oh, there were some like one girl. There is even supposed to be she was from Belgium. She ran away with a Polish. Is it hailing?
I think so. I think it's hailing.
We are hailing. May I make you some tea or coffee?
Yeah,
A cup?
some coffee.
Do you have instant because I don't have, is that all right?
Yeah,
instant?
sure. Okay.
Just here then. They ran away. He put an SS uniform on. You know, he had a
So she
motorcycle
Yeah.
there, and he took a motorcycle of an SS man, and they went through with papers. And but they were caught later, brought back to camp. She
That was my next question. There were some attempts to escape, but they were
Oh,
caught.
there were. Some were caught, some were not caught.
Yeah, just like out of a ghetto.
Yeah.
Was there an organized underground?
Yes.
There was.
There was an organized,
Was there
special at the, with the men, yes.
Yeah, was
and
there
the
any-
men were, there was a group of men. They were then the Gestapo came from Katowice and they interviewed. This was the toughest Gestapo there. They came in from Katowice and they interviewed because there were some Polish society people.
Mhm.
Like I remember I had to make the SS men interviewed that one with a German interpreter then, and I had to write what this one
Books.
gave. And this one I never forget. He was a Count Potocki. That was a very famous name. I remember hearing that. And he was interviewed. He worked at for the potatoes. He was peeling the potatoes in a potato room there. And he was interviewed and he was hit that time. They were put on, there was a special, you must have heard about the machine. They were put on that machine and stretched on that one. And
right.
this, and we heard that screaming then on in the next room then, when they didn't tell them what they wanted to hear, right?
Mhm.
And they were naturally, some were shot and some were so hit that they died then too.
Was there any planned resistance and contact with the outside world? Was there any contact with the outside world?
That's what we said. With the girls was already, we heard things, but we were not, but with the men definitely there was an underground, yes.
Yeah.
They were connected with the Polish underground there.
They were connected with them.
Polish underground, because they told them when these came, when the attacks were, even the American bombers came there, we were very happy to see them. We were not even hiding,
Yeah.
because somehow we didn't think that we would be hit. It didn't occur to us, let's say.
Yeah.
But we were just happy looking out, they were coming, right? But naturally, first person, René Cassan's plane came and they made a white around the camp.
So,
Yeah, but the SS went into the camp then too, not to bomb these there. But they bombed outside then anyhow, they did bomb.
were there any attempts at cultural activity?
Later on in Auschwitz, it was just a couple months. Then that certain Lagerführer, they called them, that certain man of the camp, the SS man, who was the leader of the camp. He arranged a musical group, like the men in the camp of the men. They made entertainment. Some were singing or a play, and some of the girls were a group of 30, 40 was brought into the men's camp that day, and they could listen to that too.
But it wasn't for everyone?
No, just a certain part. It wasn't that big, not for
Yeah. Oh, well, were there any children?
Oh,
in the
there was
camp?
a music playing every day when the men ran up.
Marching. Were there any children in the camp? Hidden?
There was a camp. There were some girls when we first came in who were pregnant. They were taken away then.
There were no children.
There was a camp from Theresienstadt. You heard about Theresienstadt, yes? When they came in, because they were brought in, a lot of them, with the kids in the beginning. And then later on they were taken away too. But in the beginning they wanted them to write to the other people in Theresienstadt how good they have it. We have camp, we have food, because I remember when we were told to read through the mail from them. that the others should come, right? Too. They should tell them they should come. They are working here and they get good food. And there was a gypsy camp. There was from Theresienstadt.
Yeah. Okay. What were the relations between the Jewish inmates? You know, between one and the other.
Look, there is a group always. You get friendly with a certain group there. You know, it's like in society outside too. There is a certain friends you have, and you stick with them.
Right. Was there any antagonism, like or jealousy?
Yes,
or something?
yes, that happens. That's like
any
any time too. One had a little more, you know, because everybody tried to have a little extra different kind of food there, you know. And the man, there was a way of getting it in through other channels, always something, you know. Then I had a little sugar, or I had a little something that was naturally. So you try to share it with people, with your friends.
And what about between Jews and non-Jews?
Well, there were some got along and some didn't there, you know.
Okay. Did you receive help from fellow inmates? Like, did you help each other?
We helped each other. There were certain, some needed some medication there, you know. And you tried to smuggle that to the certain section, or if you had some clothing, you organized a little extra clothing, somebody came. It's very hard to tell you organized it. That was somebody stole it from one place and gave it to another place. Right. That was the organizing. Or I was working on, all of a sudden, when I worked at that certain place where the men worked there, that I was pointed out there's a certain place there is something for me, you know. And I go there and I had some silk stockings there. That was, you know, a luxury like that. Silk stockings in the whole bread, you know. I mean, and I put it under my coat to walk, and I was afraid even to pass by. They might notice that they.
How old were you during this time?
In the 20s.
And did you keep the silk stockings, or did you trade it away for something else?
I gave I had 3 pairs that time. I tell you, it was winter time.
Oh.
I was glad to
have
some that, you know, we didn't get any, but everybody warned. I was hiding it under the bed then there, you know.
Were you ever ill? Did you ever get sick?
One time I just had a temperature. I was very, in all the time, it's unbelievable. I was very lucky to, not to get sick. Because who got sick? If they got sick in camp, they were brought to Birkenau. They call it Revier there. That was one big, long, like in the war, they have these how do you call these?
Barracks?
These barracks there, special for sick people. And if hospital there, but but if you didn't have much and you were brought there, you caught something there, you know.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you know.
What happened when you were sick? Were you brought there?
One day they thought there is some typhus in our day, and there were some girls who were brought to Birkenau then. There were 2, they never came back. And one came back, and after she came back, she died anyhow 6 days later. Because she didn't have it, but what she did, she caught something else.
And you weren't
because, you know, excuse me,
you
want to stop it a minute? Let me give.
Okay, so was there any medical attention of any kind? Like, if someone was sick, you said?
No, it was too bad if somebody was sick.
Too
All right. We worked in enough. There was a camp. There was a doctor there. I mean, everything was. You know what is paradox? there.
Yeah.
Because if in Auschwitz, if you had a toothache, there was a dentist there in a men's camp.
Yeah.
And I went in there, I had a toothache, and he even filled it, you know. I mean, in one way, they were put to death. The
Yeah,
other way, you know,
they
I
filled
mean,
it
it
too.
didn't, the whole thing didn't really make, you know, and there they tried to fill your teeth there. There was
Yeah.
a dentist there. They were Jews, I mean.
They were
the
Jewish dentists?
Jewish dentists, yeah,
dentists.
yeah. They had an office there, I mean. So, but
And-
it didn't make, you know, there was a camp there was a special house for prostitutes too in
Right,
Auschwitz
yeah.
that you read
Yes.
about, and there was one for experiments.
Right.
So
The
you read that
Block
that you
3,
know.
I think it was.
Block
Block
10.
10.
Was it 10 or 11?
I
10
thought.
or 11.
I know I read QB7 by Leon Uris.
Yeah. But this there in that that block there.
Can you describe the clothing? What kind of clothing that you have?
In the beginning, we got just when we came into camp in Auschwitz, we just got anything. They just gave us a.
It didn't matter whether it was fit or
Didn't matter
not.
if fit or not. They just gave us some.
Right.
Later on, when I worked in an office in the winter time, we got these stripes.
Yeah.
You know, you saw
Yes.
these on the pictures, this
Yes.
stripe clothing, and you got a jacket there.
Oh, you had a jacket.
A jacket.
And shoes, you had no
Shoes, we got shoes when we worked in office. We got shoes, but
But
when we
otherwise-
came in, we didn't get shoes. no.
Otherwise, people didn't have shoes to wear, not
Didn't
even in
have
the
shoes.
winter time.
In the winter time later on, you know, we went to the hospital there. Let it call it hospital
Yeah.
there. If people died, they threw their shoes out in a yard there.
Yeah.
And people went
Where-
there and picked the shoes, right? So that's the way
And-
they got shoes.
Yeah. And the sanitary conditions.
In Birkenau, the sanitary conditions were terrible. In the quarantine, when we were in, later on, if people worked naturally, but there were some things done too, because I don't think there was any reason there was a special long hall with water that we could drink or wash. They said this day it's closed. Nobody's allowed in. I mean, there were certain things, whose fault it was, if it was the SS or it was some of the inmates, could be too. You know, that we never know, that sort of thing. But the sanitary conditions when we worked in an office, they were all right. We could take a wash, we could take a shower.
But like this, for the rest of the inmates, they were very bad.
That was bad. They had only one big hall, and they had to, you know.
Were you allowed to receive mail or parcels like from the outside?
There was one time they came parcel. It said the Red Cross sent some sardines to Portugal.
Yes.
A few from they got sardines. That was just a miracle, you know. And then later on,
You were allowed to
one
receive
time, they got it. Yes.
the SS, but
Some inmates
Oh,
in
the
the
inmates?
offices who were,
oh
they got it. The others,
no.
some no. We were not allowed to write or receive mail.
Receive.
Nobody knew there. But one time we were allowed to write. But there was nobody I could write to.
So
I
who were you
just
gonna write?
remembered I had half uncle in Denmark. And it happened, I remember the name and the address. And I wrote a card. And I made some note. I wrote like aunt so and so. I visited aunt so and so. That aunt had died already, you know. No, and I said my father, my mother, they are staying with her. And another note like this. And it happened that from Denmark the Jews were brought to Sweden. You know the story that time. The Danish king the Danish king
Right.
said he went out that time with a Jewish staff,
right.
and
He wanted to
went,
protect the
he
Jews.
said, these are my people.
Mhm.
And when the Germans, when he couldn't, then they were brought.
Was
ordered.
he successful in that or not?
Yes,
He
yes.
was.
The Danish
The they were
Jews were
saved?
brought to Sweden that
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Yes, and it happened that that card came later on. I heard it. That card came to Denmark and was brought to Sweden.
Oh, it
And
did.
my brother from here was in contact with them, and they sent me the card. And when I came over in '47, I thought, I don't know what happened with the card somehow, but I saw that he had gotten that card. It made around.
Made-
Yes.
So they did receive it. So
They
that
did.
was just one. They
There
let you
was
write, or
one
was
time somehow. Maybe there was something with the Red Cross or a certain way.
Yeah.
That was 3-4 months before evacuation, really.
Mm.
Of
So
Auschwitz.
that
Maybe
was
there
the
was
only
a
time.
certain thing that time.
That was the
we-
only time you were allowed to
That
write.
was the only time.
Okay, that's the end of the questions for Auschwitz. That was when you were in Birkenau. You were in Ravensbrück.
Ravensbrück after Auschwitz. After the evacuation
After the evacuation,
from Auschwitz,
you
I
were
was in
there for a few
Ravensbrück.
months.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I was in, I forgot the other name. We were brought to another camp. That was a munitions factory underground there.
That
to
was
another camp.
that was another camp.
Yes. But
Okay, was there a selection when you came to Ravensbrück? That was did they still do that?
Ravensbrück, no, we were put in a quarantine. It was a hall like a gym hall, a big gym hall. We were put all in that one room on a TZ camp. They probably at the moment they didn't know what to do with us.
Right.
And then we were put into the camp where all the other inmates were from Ravensbrück for a short time only, and then we were taken, certain couple thousand were sent to another camp again.
To the munitions.
No, yeah, it was two munitions. I went, I don't remember that one name. Then I went to another name to south of Germany again. It was a munitions factory too.
And in Ravensbrück, I don't know why I have to ask you all these questions again. Like you were, it was like like a camp like Birkenau. It was like the same type.
It was the same type.
Same type of
Yes.
thing.
Yeah. Yes.
Again, did you? What kind of work did you do there?
I didn't do any work.
Nothing.
No, we didn't do anything. We weren't long enough there. Just a couple weeks, maybe not even that.
Oh, I see. And they were capos
This is
again.
between January and April. We were Ravensbrück and Malchow. Now I remember the name. Malchow. From Ravensbrück we went to Malchow. Malchow or W. I don't know how it spells that time. Malchow. Ravensbrück
from-
and then 1 and then 2. Yes.
So that was between January and April. You were like, they
Yeah,
just shifted
Ravens
you around.
shifted us around because they were closing in
Right, from all
that's
sides.
right, from all sides.
And from Malchow, where did you go?
From Malchow we went to south of Germany. We were brought to another munitions factory. That was
Malchow was
near
munitions-
Dresden there.
And there were.
There was a munitions factory. There was a camp too.
So did you work in the munitions factory? or
Yes.
What did
yes.
what did you do?
We had to put some,
It was like
I don't know, put some, I don't understand anything about these
Just
things.
put
We had
parts
to put
together-
parts
parts
together
and-
and wash it then or something in that.
and the food.
There, the food, we
Same.
got, I don't remember what we got there. Someone didn't stick to me what we got. I only know later on, when after we left that, the last munitions factory there, we had to walk for a couple weeks. We walked.
Just
At least 3. We walked through woods and back and forth. At night we stayed in the woods. We didn't get any food.
No
we
food,
got
yeah.
once. We got a little rice. I remember. Then we took a little water and but otherwise we didn't get any food. We picked some greens from when we passed by the streets there,
Right.
you know, and there were some people they gave sometimes, you know, underneath the Germans there.
Oh.
They stuck there a little bit or there, but we really didn't have anything.
How did you survive? You really didn't eat anything for that long?
We picked
You just
potato, you know, when we had to rest there, that wasn't the SS anymore, that was the Wehrmacht then.
no, they
The Wehrmacht who took us around. When they wanted to rest or they eat something, they said you just sit wherever you want, and then we went on the ground or they did a potato, you know, and we just parted the potato and we kept the potato for a piece now and
Yeah.
piece for next day, you know, I mean. But you can live on very little
Yeah.
if necessary.
Yeah.
You can very little. When it's this way you feel, oh, I'm hungry, I didn't eat. It's not necessary. You can live on very, very little there, really. So if you have a little water and you have a little green there, we ate the greens. I didn't know if it was edible, but just to have
Because
something.
you were used to it from so many years to
no,
have so little food.
that food somehow
Wasn't
our
that
stomach. It wasn't that.
It
It wasn't that important.
right.
Oh yes, it was important. In camp we talked a lot about food. Like, when we get out, you know, what are we going to eat first, you know? Oh, once a week we got potatoes on Sundays. They gave us a few little.
Baked potato.
No, not baked potato, cooked potato. We
Cooked.
peeled in a peel nest there, you know, but it was
That was
something special, you know.
and in Ravensbrück, how was the daily routine?
Nothing.
Nothing.
We
you
didn't do anything there. We just that we had we got something to eat there, and then we started to go out, and that was in January, February. It was high snow, and we washed ourselves in the snow, right? And we got something to eat there, and we went in again. It was cold. We were happy to be inside again. There was no heat, but so many people together, it was warm, right?
And again, were people killed? There were no gas chambers.
In Ravensbrück too, they were killed too.
And they were still killing Jews.
They were killing, but we didn't see it. We heard that this was killed or that one was killed, but we didn't really see it. In Auschwitz you could smell it. Right? In Auschwitz you smell it.
And again, were there here attempts to escape? People trying to get out?
In Ravensbrück, I didn't hear anything.
No.
I think we were too weak or
Too weak.
not weak, we just, you know, you come to a point then that you say, as long you are sitting here on that is fine. You get a particle already there, and you don't feel anything anymore.
Right. You're just like numb.
Numb. That's right.
And was there an organized underground or
in Ravensbrück?
No.
That I don't know. That
were there any attempts at cultural activity?
nothing.
No.
Nothing there.
And were there any children in the camp?
I didn't see any. No.
And what was the relation between the Jewish inmates?
In Ravensbrück, we were really all Jews together. All Jews together. I don't remember if that was. There was
you like stuck together.
We stuck together all this. So.
And you helped each other.
We helped each other. Some things. There wasn't much that we could help.
Yeah.
I mean, right.
And the clothing was the same, like it just had.
We had
the
same
same
clothes
dress that you came in with. That's the same thing that you had all along.
all along.
Were you able
the same
to
shoes
wash
too.
it?
No,
No, you just
no.
never
we just
took it
had,
off.
We couldn't take it off.
Yeah.
I just washed ourselves and put it on again.
Mm-hmm.
Right. As long I felt clean, I washed myself in the snow,
Right.
and I felt clean. I put it on again. Nobody had a chance to take it off and wash it.
Right. And the sanitary conditions?
They were terrible.
No,
There was no
nothing.
chance of washing, just the snow.
Yeah.
Right.
And what about mail? Nothing like that.
No. Nothing at all.
Okay, that's about
That's
it, I
it?
guess. Yeah.
Okay.